knows them also.
I'll just start the meeting and James can come in when he comes in.
Sure.
You ready, Jim?
I'm ready.
You recording?
Oh, hold on. I am not ready.
Do we want to delete the executive?
Yeah, I've got the deletions and stuff.
Okay.
That's not what I want to do. Okay, now I'm ready.
I'd like to call the Londonderry Select Board meeting of April 7th, 2025 to order. I'd just like to point out that James Amundsen Jr. is running a little late, but he will be joining us soon. Item 2 is additions or deletions to the agenda. I have a couple. I move to add under Mountain Town Recreation as item 3, Summer Parks part-time position. Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And I move to delete the executive session. We do not have anything to discuss under that tonight.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And I also move to delete 11B, which ended up being a duplicate of one we already have on under 7C. It's the DV fiber, Southern Vermont appointments.
So getting rid of 11B and keeping 7C?
Yep. We have a second there.
Yes, second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Item 3, minutes approval, meeting of 3/17/2025 and 4/1/2025.
I move to approve the minutes of the select board meetings of March 17th, 2025 and April 1, 2025.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Select board pay orders.
I move to approve the pay orders for payroll and accounts payable.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item 5 is announcements and correspondence.
So I have a couple of announcements. One is the town administrator started on March 24th. That's me.
Welcome, Eileen.
Thank you. I've been settling in and learning the ropes and learning everybody's names, and it's so far so good. Glad to be here. Starting next week, I plan to work remotely on Wednesdays. I still will be completely available via phone and email. And then as far as correspondence is concerned, there's a letter in the packet from Sheehy, Furlong, and BEHM informing the town that GMP plans to begin operation of the upgraded substation starting this week. That's all I've got.
The only other announcement I'd add is, we almost had a little snafu on Reinhardt Road Culvert. FEMA originally told us on April 2nd that we couldn't cut any trees after April 1st because of bats. We have since remedied that, and now we can cut until April 15th, and Hunter's on board. He'll be there Thursday probably to get the trees taken care of. So that should be going along. Anything from the town office?
Dog licenses now are late, so you have to pay a late fee.
All right. Item 6, visitors and concerned citizens.
Yeah, I guess I'll just mention, related to the town, not town government, but there's, what am I thinking? There's a film couple films coming up at the depot. These, yeah, anyway, there's flyers out. I forgot the details. If I remember, I'll get back to you.
Were you guys here for rest haven? No. Okay. All right, anyone else? Moving on to item 7, town officials business. 7A, zoning administrator. A1 is scanner use by other towns.
Yes, Londonderry, but I guess it was the clerk, bought a very nice large format scanner, and Jeremiah and Sandra scanned a ton of surveys, which is great because now they're online for anyone who needs them, and also they're backed up and et cetera. I don't know who would have to authorize if allowing another town to use them. Now that Londonderry's caught up, it would be nice if other towns could use the scanner, if it makes sense to whoever is responsible for the upkeep of that scanner, be it the select board or the clerks.
If it came out of the clerk's budget, I guess it would you guys know.
Well, it does belong to the clerk's office.
Yeah.
It doesn't belong to the listers. We bought it with restoration funds. And our only concern is that there be some kind of agreement. If it gets broken, well, it's a $4,000 scanner.
Yeah.
It's not something that we're just gonna let roll out the door and
Yeah.
hope it comes back in one piece.
We'd have to come up with some sort of contract, I'd
Yeah.
say.
Would it make sense to set up like a fee system just to kind of cover yourself in advance of any issues like that?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe I'm misunderstanding too. Would the scanner actually go anywhere, or people would come?
It would be easiest if the scanner could go
It
to
is
other
portable,
towns.
yes. And it's portable. It has a case that has wheels.
Because most of the surveys are in sleeves, and it takes longer to take the sleeves apart than it does to scan a document.
And I have talked to the listers, and they don't really need it anymore. They're barely using it now. They've
Yeah, they'll-
done what
they'll
they
keep- keeping
They've
up.
done all this.
The backlog, there's just whatever we currently get in.
Yeah.
That's when they use it.
Maybe it's a nice little side hustle for the.
I'm not as concerned about making money on it as that it's out of the building and it's out of our control.
Yeah.
Right.
And I don't want to have to replace it. I mean, probably we wouldn't at this point, but if something happened to it, but.
I wonder if there'd be a way to get a piece of paper that said it would be covered under their insurance or something if it was.
Yeah,
I can look into that.
Yeah. And maybe just come up with
Yeah,
a
we'll
per
come up with
page
some
or
kind of
something
Yeah.
fee
Law
schedule.
offices usually have stuff like that because they bill each client and how many copies and stuff, so you can go there and
Keep track of the
get
numbers.
information, yeah.
If you go to like a Staples or something, it's quite expensive, but I'll look into the.
I don't care about making money on it. I just want to make sure that it's safe.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't think it'd be about the profit necessarily, but just covering the costs of maintenance, and if you're checking it in and out, there's, maybe some administrative stuff, and if there's an insurance thing that has to be filed, or, it could be minimal.
Well, we already
Just-
have a fee schedule for copies, so.
Is that for the public?
Yeah.
Public and real estate agents,
Yeah.
so we could probably just go with that. or-
Yeah.
Yeah, sort of like
I
a,
mean, you can't count how many things they scan, but it could be a daily thing.
Daily,
I think you
yeah.
should minimize the frequency that you're moving the machine. Those are delicate machines.
Yeah, it has a case that
Yeah.
came in it's made to be portable.
Yeah.
It has wheels on it.
Have we ever had a contract like this, kind of, to go off of? No. Maybe Bob Fisher has something that he's done.
Yeah, except maybe shared employees, but
Yeah.
I mean, it's a nice way to share among the
Yeah,
towns.
yeah, and I don't mind sharing, I just want to be covered in case.
Yeah.
Somebody
Yeah.
creates it.
So I say we look into the different options
Yeah.
there on insurance or something, and once we have more information, you guys can come back to us.
Okay.
Okay, and my other issue is, I think the bylaws and the town class 4 road ordinance should line up. The way the bylaws are written now and the ordinance is written now, they don't. And the issue is, you can either allow someone to put a driveway over a class 4 road, or require that anything that goes over a class 4 road be up to road standards. And I think just knowing the places where we have people using class 4 roads for access on the mountain road and the road that goes from Hell's Peak to Weston, I don't know if there's any others. Hobart.
Rest Haven.
Rest Haven, how did I not come up with Rest Haven? You know, if it's one house, I think it's fine to allow driveway standards to add one house. But then when you start having more houses, it would have to be road standards.
I think that's an important differentiation to make, is the difference between road standards and driveway standards. Because our driveway standards are, it all fits on one page and it doesn't really say much, right? And
Quite a
the
big
road
difference
standards
in
is,
cost.
yeah. Road standards is a lot more detailed and expansive. If I am recalling it correctly, anyway.
So I just think the two policies should line up, and so I guess it's up to you guys to decide which is the way to go on that.
Is there an urgency to do this, or would it normally be addressed in the planning commission's work on the new zoning bylaws?
I think the planning commission agrees that it should be driveway standards for one house, and more than one house, it should be road standards.
Well, I guess what I'm saying is, are we taking this out of the normal process of evaluating the bylaw revisions?
It's one of those things where there's an ordinance that's the select board's purview, and then there's the bylaws, which is the planning commission's purview, and it's just a question of
Working on them at the same time.
And I could ask for a motion from the PC, which they prefer.
It may depend on where on their list it is, because it seems like this has come up multiple times, and just so we don't reinvent the wheel each time, it might be wise to bring it forward, kind of like the signs in the plaza. It was just something that was important to deal with a little bit in advance, rather than waiting.
I think a good way to go about it is have the planning commission vote on what they prefer in the zoning, and then we can amend our ordinance.
And the ordinance is very old. I think it's, written on a manual typewriter. That's how old it is.
I've actually been thinking about that in regards to the driveway policy, and the road standard seems a little bit newer. Am I correct in that, or are they both about the same age?
I'd have to check again.
Yeah, I think it's time.
How would that affect prior conversations that you've been having with the existing landowners? Because one house for a driveway is probably different than what we've been speaking about.
Right. You have a decision by the planning, I don't know if it was the planning commission or the DRB then, but you have a written decision that says you don't have to upgrade to road standards unless you further subdivide.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
In relation to your specific situation too, I think some of the confusion about what's been going on has been that it's limited what we really need to do at this point because there's been so much that's been established.
Mhm.
So I think that's been the struggle to determine what needs to be done because it's already been determined on that particular, those properties already have permitting associated with them, so.
So then,
Where's the smoke coming?
yep. I guess the only thing is to ensure that we understand where the class 3 ends. I think the post has moved a few times. And I think Josh had gone out at one point in time. Josh is the foreman, correct?
Yeah, road foreman.
Yep. He had gone and put it out at one point in time and then took it down and then another post is up, but I'm not sure it's in the same spot as the original.
The
So,
last one he put up was off a survey that Will found.
okay.
And it's roughly like 30 or 40 feet past the concrete corner.
Okay.
I know at one point there was an assumption that the iron pin in the cement was the corner, and that was an old gate latch or gate hinge or something, and not the corner.
The corner of the property.
And the corner of the property is actually beyond there, and the cemetery is able to use that little access that's there. So
Yeah, as far as I know, it should be in the correct spot right now.
Okay.
So I just want to share some of the things, and I think you know that when you go from class 3 to class 4, I think we were having some struggles with turnaround for maintenance and things like that. So that may be something you may want to weigh as you make your decisions moving forward too.
I think that's the last thing on our list to do is figure that piece out. In the past, we've plowed it, we've not plowed it, we've tried to turn around, we've drove in and backed out, we've backed in and plowed out, and I think it's just a matter of figuring out what our steps are gonna be, but it will be to maintain to that pin that you're speaking of. So it'll be with or without a turnaround, we're gonna try to plow in and back out or back in and plow out, whichever.
If I remember correctly, the consensus was the two landowners, we could come together and work out a turnaround.
Yeah.
We were willing to allow the town to put a
And
turnaround.
it sounded like the other landowner was too.
But it would be something that as you speak to the plowing or the planning committee, it would be something that you would have to weigh and share that, right? Because that would also probably weigh their decision on how that whole thing interacts too. So just sharing some of our pain.
Yeah, I don't know what the planning commission would have to do about that necessarily.
Yeah, I don't know if it would have anything to do with the turnaround. That's more,
The bylaws are for more like, what is the policy in the
Yeah.
future?
that's more of just a deal between landowners to create a turnaround so you can effectively plow the town portion.
Okay. That's a conversation with the foreman again, the road foreman.
Foreman, us, and Taylor. All right, so we'll get an official ruling from the planning commission and then we can align the two.
All right, great.
Sound good?
Yep.
Yep. Moving on to 7B, Mountain Towns Recreation Director. B1 is discuss possible vehicle purchase.
Yes, so our addition tonight will be referencing the part-time maintenance employee that we're looking to hire, and that is also tied to the need of a vehicle for parks. I've been using my own personal for the last year and a half, and that has worked, but that truck is not terribly reliable, nor was it going to start being used by another town employee. So that is kind of just part of this whole shift of moving towards employee. So the Parks Board voted last meeting with approval, and also this opens a conversation to you all of what you would like to do. But the Parks Board is interested in spending up to $10,000 for a simple half-ton vehicle, ideally the best quality we can find for that price range, but not looking to get a brand new truck or anything that is going to be bigger than we need. It does need to tow the mower and it needs to tow the tractor. and tandem axle trailer, being the heavier item. So this would be utilized part-time throughout half the year is what we would need it for. Obviously, we don't want to let it just sit the whole rest of the year, but maintain it however we need to in the off-season. But that was our thought as far as trying to be responsible with our money, taxpayers' money. And I know there's some debate on whether it's worth it to buy something more reliable or. And then we also, there's conversations of, is there something that where road crew can use it, part of it, and the conversation goes on and on and on. So I want to present that to you. Parks Board is ready and willing to spend up to $10,000 on a half-ton. How do you all feel about that?
I don't think you get much for $10,000 these days. My question would be, how often or how much use would this get? Would it be worth considering a contracted service for that $10,000? Let's just say, how many times would you move a piece of equipment? Like, I know
They're gonna do all the mowing.
Yeah, they're gonna do town office, crowding.
They're doing all the park
It would
mowing.
be
The
weekly.
position is 20 to 30 hours, 30 hours max a week.
Okay, I thought you were talking about just the tractor, not you probably
Yeah,
said it. Claire.
Mowing's a big part, yeah.
Mowing,
So
okay.
part of this whole move is that we're no longer updating contracts for mowing or landscaping. And that is the trade-off for those wages and some of the equipment that we'll need to
It'd
do.
become that employee's vehicle while they're working on down position.
So depending on the week, it could be 4 or 5 days for a few hours each day where it's moving around.
And that's just the mower, not the
It
tractor.
would be all of the above. The mower would, the main job of the employee is to mow all of the parks and town office, town hall, property land, and also the landscaping, what we used to do with the contracted. And so after that, if there's time and obviously seasonally, week to week, it's always going to be different. They'll be helping me with other projects around the parks. So tractor will be involved in that too. Because I know we looked at, if you could go Ford Ranger or that size truck for just the mower, but when you get the tractor involved, you need the half ton. So what we started looking at was if you hit, marketplace right now and look, under 10,000, you can start to get that 150,000 mile range vehicle. I know trucks in Vermont get rusted and get beat up, and so it was just our first choice, but we knew it was going to be a bigger conversation. So putting new truck money into this position just seems like a little much, especially where they're at these days. So we didn't know I talked to Josh briefly about kind of what his long-term goals were with vehicles, and it didn't sound like they were looking to make a move anytime soon. So getting something that can do more, unless you guys know of something more than I do, which that's what I'm asking, if there's a bigger picture that we can contribute to here and team up on. But we do need something, and ideally soon, otherwise it's going to be my truck sold.
My thought is to see how this summer program really works, we're gonna have to give it a real test drive of a year or two. So maybe finding something in this price range for now that will last a year or two at least before we know how everything's going, is probably a smart idea to me.
That was exactly our thought process too. We just, it sounded like the town used to mow, and then it went to contract, and this has gone back and forth a bit. So in this round of it, hoping that with my position being a consistent role that we can make this routine work, but instead of jumping in for $80,000.
Well, I think you kind of touched on something that might make sense at some point, maybe not right now, but when our town pickup is due for replacement, I don't know if it's really on a schedule.
No.
It's
No.
certainly has,
Yeah.
we haven't been talking about it, but
No.
when it does come up, maybe there's a time to, I mean, I'm assuming that this same truck eventually might have a plow for the parks, or is gonna be parked in the wintertime, or,
Yeah,
I
this is a
mean,
bigger conversation, and where that goes.
Or Liam can use it in the wintertime.
Yeah.
So, for his driving around, to
Yeah.
keep it running.
Yeah, it would be a vehicle that would stay at the town garage, it wouldn't be going home with
You don't
it.
want to sit.
But yes, down the road, I know Josh has mentioned the potential of like a 550 that can plow and sand, and then that can be used for parks and whatnot. Whether that's the truck they have, and we get their old one, which would last indefinitely for us, for what we need, or whatever that relationship, you know, we're open to that conversation, but we just thought for the next, at least season or 2 or 3, something to just get us moving, literally.
So it sounds like we're somewhat in agreement here.
I would agree with what you said. Give it a trial run for a couple
The
of
next
years.
thing is, that I was thinking was, do we want them to find a truck and bring it to us, or do we want to just give them authority to buy one?
I would think you'd want the input of your road crew, who seem to know trucks pretty well. I mean, I somehow weave them into the,
Well, they can coordinate with Josh, but I mean, do we want to approve the exact vehicle, or do we want to just approve the $10,000 to purchase a vehicle?
give them a budget of 10.
well, I think if it, especially if it's gonna be something that's parked at the town garage and stuff, I think keeping that involvement is probably, you know, it's not difficult to keep that information flowing throughout the purchase process or whatever, you know.
Happy to work with Josh on that.
So approve up
We
to,
haven't cleared that we can park it yet, so.
yeah, approve up to 10,000 with Josh's approval or
Input.
input.
There would need to be, sorry, obviously, that up to, we would probably,
Try to be shooting for the 7-8 if we can find something worth it, because we know there's gonna be some work that's gonna go into it right off the bat. At least every time I bought a used car, there has been, so.
Paul?
I was just curious, not being familiar with the parks budget, is there money for insurance and upkeep of a vehicle?
Well, I was thinking that we could buy the truck out of the Riverside Park Fund, because it's basically gonna be used for the Riverside Parks.
Yeah.
They do have some extra money this year in their budget that hasn't been spent, that could cover maintenance, and insurance wouldn't be much.
I did forget to mention the
Yeah.
Riverside Park, that was what the board did.
What's that?
That, the board had approved the Riverside Park aspect of it, I
Yeah.
mentioned that, thank you.
I think it's definitely important to look, you know, I know that this is sort of focused on this particular season until we get a better plan. And I mean, I would support having a better plan, you know, soon, because a $10,000 vehicle is probably not going to get you more than a season. Real, you know, effectively, you could spend a lot of money keeping something like that alive, and it might not be worth it to continue down that route, so.
But Josh does do a lot of work on his own vehicles and older vehicles, so he would have a lot of input there.
That's what I would say.
Yeah.
Go with his input.
I live this, I have a $5,500 truck that is now going on about 6-7 years.
I put money into it, but monthly, I'm way ahead of buying new. So, I don't know if this is a place to have that conversation, but I think you're,
I think the hard part about that is when you have an employee who, you know, he's gonna, if he has a failure, it's gonna get towed back to the shop and say, your truck's broken, and then, you know, it's not like a personal vehicle, so it would be more complicated to arrange those repairs in a way that works for somebody who's trying to get work done, you know. I think that might be the challenge. Not that you can't do it if it's a, you know, in your situation it might work.
This would be the first time we would have a town vehicle that is not part of
road crew. So
Yeah.
therefore, have we ever had the conversation of working with a local mechanic or something like that? Is that new territory as well?
Yeah.
Fine.
We could.
Going back home, we could probably work on it.
Does he work on regular vehicles or just big
I
vehicles?
know he works on, like 1 tons for some people.
We could ask him.
Yeah.
He does tractors and some up at Wild Wings working on CAD.
I think he does a little bit of everything.
Not
Yeah.
that it's any, so.
I'm sure we
He
could get
works on
John.
the backhoe at the transfer station. Very
He did work on the tractor, didn't he? He did work on your tractor. Yeah.
Alright, well, it sounds like we're in agreement, and anyone can make a motion. We don't have one written up for that. but-
Yeah, we don't. I would move that we authorize the Mountain Towns Recreation Director to spend up to $10,000 to purchase a used vehicle for the Mountain Towns Recreation Program.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. And item 2 under Mountain Towns Recreation Director is discuss facilities use agreement.
So we had a few folks, and I'm guessing this is just kind of the time of year where people start planning parties and events where they want to use facilities. There is, obviously, we have the form on the website, and there's typically just go through the clerks to get approved, and then if they're involving alcohol, I think it then comes to the select board. Does that sound accurate? So my question was, for park facilities, whether we make a different use agreement or not, can we make that where I can approve those and not have to go through like, hey, we want to have a gathering this Saturday and great, select board doesn't meet for 2 weeks, or just streamline things in general. And then what I was hoping to actually do is start a bit of a policy shift where if they are reserving it, that I'll actually go and put a ticket up on the pavilion so it's known, because otherwise you can reserve it, show up, somebody could be there because it is first come, first serve, and then they have to say, no, 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 we've been approved, and then there's that whole fun
As
interaction.
long as I don't have to do it.
Yeah, so opening that conversation of if there's a way to shift that and if that makes any sense.
I would think if it was something that involved alcohol, which
Yes.
to me sort of pushes the edge of the responsibility for the select board, but I would say anything other than that,
Yeah.
I don't have any problem delegating it.
Yeah.
That would be my gut.
Same thing as Martha, anything with alcohol, I would say have to go through
This
us.
is why
Just
we've
because
never,
what's that?
this is why it's always been first come, first served. If you get there and you get it, you get it. Because it's tough, I mean, now that we have somebody to monitor it, but
Yeah.
But anything else other than that, I would say, I wouldn't have a problem going through.
So if folks actually want to reserve just for a kid's birthday party or whatever, and they're
Saying there's no alcohol involved, then they can go right through me, potentially.
Well, that was going to be a question that I had.
I mean, it sounds like it's up to the select board to, to delegate it, but as far as a simple, application is concerned, I don't see any problems with it.
Yeah.
I do agree that alcohol would be something that the select board would want to either not approve at all in outdoor facilities or have it come before you.
Or are you basically just talking about the pavilion?
both Memorial and Newbury
Yeah.
are the ones that get requested. Williams is also reservable, I guess?
I mean, farmers market's there, they put in an application for it. So that's something. Buxton.
no, they get they get, for alcohol at the farmer's market?
No, farmers market to be there.
They have an itinerary.
They have an itinerant vendor permit.
It's a different
It's
process.
a different process.
Okay, so we don't really, then it would just be the 2 pavilions, I guess.
So I said if we're just talking about 2 pavilions, I don't see a problem.
That was a question that immediately came to me, what was like, more about the purpose. Alcohol is sort of on its own, but you're talking about like any type of request. When you said birthdays and stuff, it's like, we've never really done
Right, so I've
that
got
before,
calls
but
where people are asking, can I reserve
Yeah.
the pavilion? And it's like, well, technically you can, but then when I look at the form we have, unless it includes alcohol, there's no reason for it to go to you. So we
Well-
say, yeah, you got it, but then we're not doing anything to actually reserve it for those people.
well, and I guess what I was driving at was like the differentiation between something that was athletic, like a ball team that had the field, or if they had a celebration for a championship or something, they want, and it was related to the athletic portion of it. Maybe that's separate from like birthdays or something, some of the things that we've always.
Yeah, that's why we never tried to monitor it, and nobody's ever gotten into,
No fist fights.
no fistfights.
And I'm all for not making policies if we don't have to, because that's more that I have to enforce. But this was just one that came up twice in the last month of folks asking for spaces and not really sure. So if we want to just say there is no reservations unless you're having alcohol, which is kind of strange, but that seems to be like
You
our
just
law.
put up a sign that says no alcohol. There used to be one at Memorial, I don't know if
There
there
still
still is.
I
Still
mean,
is last time out.
isn't it kind of like the request to use the town hall? I mean,
Yeah, and you
It's-
can ask for, you can get, like a one-day permit from VLCT to cover.
Insurance rider.
Self-insured.
Yeah.
Linked on that.
To cover yourself. If somebody's having something catered, they have to get a catering license, so the caterer should be covered.
I guess my question is, if they reserve it on a Saturday, do you want to have to go check in on them on a Saturday?
I check in on them, I hadn't even thought about that.
Yeah,
It was more so posting it up so that any future people that show up could know, hey, this is actually, I can't use this on this future date.
Well,
Yeah, by doing that, we're gonna have to check on them too, probably.
yeah.
well,
I
I
mean-
mean, holiday weekend, Memorial weekend, oh, I want it 10 a.m. to 12, and I want it 1 p.m., you know what I mean? You gotta kick somebody out to get the other,
Yeah.
and you're like, I don't know.
You may be getting into more of a can of worms than you
Yeah,
want to.
I think you should just,
I've been at Memorial Park when there's been 2 or 3 birthday parties going on,
Yeah.
and people seem to be able to share the pavilion,
yeah,
or the kids are off, swimming anyway,
I
or
think you open
whatever.
a bigger can of worms.
Well, so then what's the point of our FUA?
What's that?
What's the point of the FUA, the Facilities Use Agreement?
It's mostly for this area, and then recently there've been a couple where they kind of take over most of the park for a day.
Yeah.
Like the, what is
Like a
it?
tournament.
Well, we had a,
Magic.
Cornhole tournament,
I
right?
think it depends on the nature of the event. If you're talking a birthday party, I
If
don't
you're-
think you need
like
it.
last
If you're having a concert like we had 2 years ago, or whatever that was,
well, and last
that's
year,
a whole other
and last-
thing, or you guys have done,
we had a community fun day or something.
Yeah.
Community like fun day last year where you had to do an alcohol agreement just because
yeah.
people are typically gonna bring that, but we had to do an alcohol agreement, have our own insurance.
But I think historically, the facility use agreement was always for this building.
Yeah, just about the buildings.
Yeah,
Well,
building.
This
yeah,
building
it's
or
got
the town hall.
office and it's got pavilions on it,
Yeah,
so that's just where this is coming from.
yeah, I think we, should-
I can just-
I think.
I think
just
it's gonna
leave
be
it-
a lot more hassle than.
Yeah, I
we
think leave it the way
is.
it is. The facility use agreement can be for this building and the town hall. I think otherwise you open it up a can of worms.
Yeah.
Or bigger park events.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you
Yeah.
have one of
If
those
you're
community
gonna take
events or.
over,
If somebody just wants the pavilion, I'll just let them know it's first come, first served.
yeah. I think that's,
Thank
Yeah.
you. for-
That's-
I just tell people,
Keeping
show
my
up
travels.
the morning you wanna do an event and
yeah.
block it off so nobody can use it,
Show up
whatever. Or
early.
stand there.
Yeah, bring a towel, put it on the
Yeah.
chair.
Cornhole tournament for this year's community cook-off. Tony's in.
Oh, I'm in.
Yeah.
All right. And moving on to item 3 under Mountain Towns Recreation, summer parks, part-time maintenance.
We all done after this, sorry. So Parks met and interviewed, and we would like to recommend Nicholas Crane for the part-time seasonal parks position. And I don't know what else, we have a wage that we've settled on, if that works for you, I'm not quite sure with this process.
He has a wage for the transfer station, right?
Yeah.
Would it be different?
Tina
Maybe
says-
running two different rates.
Yep,
Yep.
they have to go in separate categories anyways.
Oh, okay.
The only thing we'd have to watch is him going over the hours by being. at the
You can't have
transfer
two
station.
part-time positions.
Yeah, you can't work more than 30,
Yeah.
Oh, no,
32 or something like that.
because we were operating with a max of 30. But if,
He's already working at the transfer station.
Yes.
how much do we know is his average there intended?
Well, we haven't opened on Sundays yet, so
But it'd
that would
be
be 5 hours a
5
week.
hours, yeah.
But he's also backup for anybody's
Yeah.
sick time.
He did sub for Steve a couple times, I think.
Yeah.
Well, it's still
We're
like
talking
higher.
about this.
How many hours are you predicting?
25, 30.
I'll tell you in October.
We'll know pretty clear numbers by
Based
then.
off of talking with Levi and Josh and Chad, who are all mowers, and Levi who previously was mowing the parks, our guess is a solid 2 full days, work days to just mow. So then throwing weed whacking and landscaping on top of that. So our hope is that some weeks it could be around 20, but we know there'll be weeks where it'll be more.
Does he have a half-ton truck?
We were hoping when we put out the.
That'll seal the deal.
So,
Well,
They
you
would
could
have
stay
to use
under
down as
30
needed.
hours a week.
if you
I would
limited,
think.
if you limited him to 3 days for you guys, that's 24 hours.
Yep.
Yeah,
5 hours at the transfer station would good, he just can't sub.
yeah.
You know,
But with,
He just won't be able to
yeah,
sub.
he just won't be able to sub, but he's got,
Well, he can be,
We have Dana
the other
too
thing is
still,
that
right?
he's seasonal part-time, so.
well, that's true, if he's only doing it in the summer. he
So-
could sub.
Average out.
does it have?
Yeah, that puts him in a different, I have to look up the rules on that, but.
And he could go into overtime on a week or two, right? Is there a prohibition to that?
For part-time work, I'm not sure.
We talked about this with Donnie, right? There's a certain.
I don't think we'd want him to go into overtime, but he could do up to 40.
Yeah, it averages out is what we figured, right? But if it's,
Yeah. As
He's
long
gonna-
as he doesn't go over 32 hours for the whole year
Average.
per week.
Per week.
do you think you need to do more digging into that before we hire him, or?
Yeah, I would think, yeah.
I guess we're gonna ask you to come back at our next meeting for that one.
Super.
Sorry about that.
Okay.
Just
Yeah.
a side note too, did we discuss paying mileage on your vehicle?
Yes.
That's been done, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I just wanted to be clear, because I know you were saying about your vehicle, and I was thinking that
We would
you're,
have had a truck conversation a lot sooner.
right, yeah, okay. Well, and I was only bringing that up in the event that, just say, this individual has a vehicle that could be, in the interim, be paid mileage instead of buying something separate.
We were hoping.
Yeah,
We were hoping.
okay. Just
Yeah.
bringing it up.
We weren't putting the transfer station and the job together, I think, so we gotta look into that, so.
Yeah, I'll have to look into that. I don't remember what the rules are.
We can get that
We may
figured
be-
out by the next meeting, right?
What's that?
We can get that figured out by the 21st, right?
Yep,
Alright.
yep.
Eileen, can you put me on the agenda?
You're already there.
Sorry to make you come back, but.
I love these meetings. Okay, so, not.
Not yet.
The grass won't grow that fast in 2 weeks.
If it keeps snowing, you're not gonna have to
Yeah.
worry.
Thought of a fun announcement, but we're a little late for that. Parks announcement?
Sure, what's the parks announcement?
Well, actually, youth sports, so we actually, based off of some encouragement from previous organizers, we have a season opening weekend day on May 3rd. All of our teams will play at home.
Great.
We'll do a little barbecue activity and shenanigans, so If you would like to come watch all of our youth sports, play softball and baseball, May 3rd is the day.
Hometown pride.
There you go.
Good.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you all very much.
Thanks, have a good night. 7C, Deerfield Valley, Southern Vermont CUD reappointments.
So you do this every year anyway, it's an annual appointment for both, and you have in your packet, sorry, back.
Is it John?
John Hankin. Hankin, for both of them.
I move to appoint John Dakin, Dan Haken?
John Hankin.
John Hankin as the Town of Londonderry's representative to D-Fiber and Southern Vermont CUDS.
All those in favor?
Is this the updated figures?
Moving on to 7D, Town Clerk. D1 is discuss social services appropriations policy.
After this year, we're doing the town report. We've had a lot of confusion on how to apply, how that works, so I went to VLCT, read the statute and where stuff falls, so I kind of tried to streamline and make this an easier, more, easier process, I guess, and standardized. So looking at that, looking at our list, or generally the list of people who ask for appropriations, a few items will become line items in our budget, and then grouping under the statute, a lot of these services don't meet this requirement. Social services made for children, there's a select group, so that those groups would be one group that meets the social service requirement. Then I propose that we move others into other types of services. Not that we defund them, but that they're just grouped together. So like the fire departments, the Londonderry Historical Society, South Londonderry Library, Rescue Squad are all based in Londonderry. Those are kind of municipal entities, but not, or municipal adjacent, where they're not, without us, they wouldn't work. You know, they need to be here because we're here. Whether some of the other ones are more of a county-wide service. So some get split in different areas. You can see through the policy I've written. And with that, then to apply that everybody meets the same, every 5 years you have to go to petition. Looking at our voter, that's about how our voter every 5 years, we have a new pool that rotate our number changes in our voting. So we should see who every 5 years, I feel like that's appropriate for them all to go to petition to make sure that our voters want these services funded.
So the client, the agency has to go and get the petition completed for 5%.
Yep. Every 5 years, or if they miss a year, or if their dollar amount changes, all those if they need to go to petition. Just keep it standard, regular. There's been a lot of, we missed a year, they just come back. It's been kind of all over the board, so this way it's just fair for everybody, it's one way. And then I think it pulls out some of the ones that we kind of need to, that aren't really social services, some of like Green Up Day, GNAT, things like that, will just be a line item in the budget, because those are where they're always there.
I like what you've done. The only thing I have noticed is that the last page or so, you referred to the fire department, everybody as municipal services.
Yeah, I didn't really, it was like one of those things, I wasn't quite sure what to call it.
Yeah, and then the first one, you referred to them as municipal organizations.
Oh, okay.
So I think the services works.
The services,
As fire department, do you agree?
Yeah.
You're not a municipal organization,
Yeah,
but you're a municipal service.
Yeah.
Just so we don't get confused, that you are a municipal fire department.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think change the organization on the first page to service.
The service, yeah.
That makes sense.
That was the only comment I really had going through it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I think, I like it. It's something we've been needing for a while.
Yeah, I needed a little.
Definitely needed to change.
Thank you to Ally for jumping on
Yeah.
that.
Thank you for doing that.
There was a lot of research, I looked at other towns of similar in size, funding, all kind of, I probably read about 30 towns' annual reports to see how they're, what's asked, how they fund it, how they split it. And then I did a
I
question.
think we have one of the highest
We
appropriations.
do, we have one of the highest appropriations.
List in the state.
In the state, yeah, for our voting pool, yeah, absolutely. And then I did a kind of, so when we send out this year's, what was voted on town meeting, they'll include what's changed and why. That's what I did, include that with you guys, so that, but now that people understand how to, the groups that are asking, this is what it will be, what it will look like to ask in the future.
So my question to the board is, do we want some time to mull this over and just think about it for 2 weeks before we approve it?
Got time.
And
Yeah, there's
no rush on this.
Yeah, there's no
Yeah.
rush, this is,
Can you put it out for public comment? I mean, post it somewhere that just sort of says.
I mean, I think in statute we have to because it is would be a policy change. I think, don't we have to post?
Yeah, when you
I
vote
think-
on it,
Yeah, when
yeah.
you vote on it, it
It's an
does have to be
ordinance.
posted for X
It's not
amount.
unusual
There's like
to
a
ask
time
for
limit.
public comment.
Yeah.
Questions, we can think about it.
I mean, this is a policy, so I don't believe there's any statute guiding
No.
that.
Oh, that's
It's-
just-
Because
okay.
it's, an ordinance would be,
Yeah,
Okay.
that's not
public
an
hearing.
ordinance.
All right.
We
But
could post it on the website. I
still
don't, I
good to
don't,
get public
Yeah,
input.
yeah, not opposed, yeah.
Well, we posted the meeting packet, so it's already posted on
yeah.
the
Yeah.
site for anyone to see.
I would say give it 2 weeks, put it out there, let people read it, we can mull it over, then come
We
back.
could email all the.
Yeah, send it to the
Yeah.
current
Yeah,
recipients.
that, I was just thinking what you were, Tina. I mean,
Yeah,
we have a
I
list
have
of
all their
people that
emails, yeah.
come to us every year, just shooting it out to them, to the people who are currently
Fair warning.
asking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds
And there
good.
was some in this year that I did warn that people were asking, like how the process works or whatever, and I did say that it is something that we're currently under review as a town. So,
Yeah,
so it's
sounds
not a
like a-
shock to some. I definitely have been open.
Sounds like a good way forward.
Yeah.
And we'll keep it on the agenda for next meeting. That's good, thank you for
There were
that.
some folks at town meeting who were particularly focused on this, who had, lots of questions about it. And I'm wondering if we can remember who they are and just say, here's what we've done in response to those kinds of concerns. Just again, to be more transparent.
Could go back and look at the meeting.
Bruce, do you want to go back and look? No.
I don't think we should put it out to individuals. If we're gonna do
Just put it
anything,
out
I think you
townwide.
put it on the town website.
Yeah.
And just let everybody see it, because
Cause it's,
Yeah.
giving it out to individuals, that's showing favoritism, kind
Yeah.
of, and we
and
don't.
it's,
We can send it to the organizations for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
it's been a general concern for a lot of, like,
A lot of people.
Yeah.
most residents around.
So how's this, send it out to organizations, we'll put it on the website as proposed changes.
Yeah.
And there, everybody has access to it.
Then if they have questions, they come to us 2 weeks and
Yep,
Yep.
everybody has a fair shot at it.
sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to item 8, transfer station solid waste management, 8 days updates. I don't have any updates at this time.
We haven't seen Esther in a while.
She had.
She
hip
had knee surgery.
Knee surgery,
Oh, dear.
so,
She's still not mobile.
yeah. Yeah, moving on to item 9, roads and bridges, 9A's updates. Josh asked, when we saw him today, he asked me if he should come, but we're gonna talk about doing the fuel tank at the garage next meeting, so I said you might as well just go to that one.
instead.
You guys put out a plan.
Does the plan that I saw on here, where everything's listed in terms of month,
Yep.
what he's going to be doing, do we have a fiscal plan that goes with that so that we can see anticipated cash flow and stuff like that? I know we've got some just solid round numbers here in terms of what we're going to spend in the winter and what we're going to spend in the summer, but
Not
does this
specifically.
translate into?
Not specifically. I mean, all these things are things that would be budgeted for.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be necessarily above and beyond that, but there's not a separate document in that regard. And one thing to be kind of clear about this too is that it's a plan, but
Yeah, sure.
changes rapidly, so.
Yeah.
More of a goal.
It's a goal, it's a set of goals, yeah. And a lot of times it's nice to just have something like a checklist that we can say, you know, or if say Josh is out and the guys are looking for things to do, they can remind themselves of tasks. Or from year to year, we can say, geez, we never got the culvert replaced on this one, so it's, all of the ideas are recorded somewhere, and this document was updated from last year, and the items that were done were deleted, and the items that are up were added, and so it's really kind of an outline of potential projects and goals to work towards, and just a list that, I mean, as you're inquiring, it does kind of spell out how the money could be spent, even though it doesn't refer to the money. These are all things that would be in line with, if you look at like June, there's a lot of stuff that's anticipating the beginning of the budget in July. So there's like a lot of RFPs going out or potentially going out in June. And like the purchasing and stockpiling or stocking plow blades and stuff like that, everything is, there's some consistency, but there's not a separate document.
Thank you.
Anything else, Don?
Not regarding that, I don't think.
Or any update?
Nothing specific, I guess.
Sure.
I think he's just waiting, he's waiting for a final offer from the state. He's gonna make a decision.
I had a comment about Route 100 and how there's some gifts. I know that's a state road, but we did request stop signs at the intersection here. So maybe we can consider a request to the state to kind of work on that section of the road to kind of get rid of those dips along the right side going this way near the river, if you know what I mean. Just talking about Route 100.
You talking about
Between the two villages?
bridge?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can give them a request for that.
Great, thank you.
All right, moving on to 9B, annual town highway financial plan certification.
So this is another one of those things that you do every year, hence the annual financial plan. This is just you certifying that V-Trans has done their math correctly. They take our highway budget and they strip out some things. I think it's uniforms, sodium chloride for calcium chloride for some reason, and then come up with winter and non-winter expenses, and anything that's over those in the case of a disaster is the number that they would be reimbursable. So
It looks like we all signed this.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it's a
Anyone
Full
can make that motion?
Sure. I move to adopt and execute the annual financial plan for town highways pursuant to 10 VSA, section 306J.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That's the only one that we all had to sign, right?
I believe so, yeah.
It didn't look like the DV fiber and stuff.
That
Looked
was
like
just
it
for
me.
you, yeah. Yep.
9C, consider applications for excess weight permits. All the usual.
They all came in all at once. I have maybe a couple stragglers for next week, but.
And these all had the insurance with them? I thought there was one that I was confused about.
There was one that said that we already had it, and to be honest, I didn't double check, but.
Who was it?
Somebody said that, yeah,
There's one in here that's missing.
October.
I think it was one that
I
said,
looked at the book the other day.
One that I should know.
I think it's one that said their
Is it
insurance.
Basin, perhaps?
We adjust like midway through the year, so whatever we
Yeah,
have
they
now.
always, all the truck companies have them sent directly to us.
Yeah.
They go in a binder with all the overweight permits.
So whatever we have now is current, and then
Yeah.
once they get their insurance
Yeah.
They go out
re-up,
again.
they'll send it
Yeah.
back.
Yeah, okay.
And when we write up the approval, we state that it's only valid if they have valid insurance, so.
Anyone care to make that motion?
I just have one other question. We get like $10 to $15 per company for this, is that right?
$10. It's $5 for a single vehicle, $10 for a fleet.
Feels like an opportunity to make a little bit more
We,
money.
it's state,
State statute.
the
Is that a
state
set
sets that.
fee?
Yeah.
Yep.
Sorry. I move to approve the excess weight permits for A.S. Clark, Miller Construction, New England Quality Services, AmeriGas, Fuller Sand and Gravel, Camp Precast Concrete Products, Basin Brothers Trucking, Dead River Company, Coda and Coda, Casella Construction, Structural Wood Corporation, and TK Trucking, and authorize the town administrator to execute the permits on behalf of the town.
All those in favor? Aye. And moving on to 9D, approve rust proofing, release and hold harmless agreement. This is what we do every year. Anyone cares to make that motion?
Sure. I move to approve the rust proofing release and hold harmless agreement with Carrera's Rust Proofing and authorize the town administrator to execute it on behalf of the board.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And moving on to 9E, ratify 3/17/2025 decision to approve access to 2025-01 on Middletown Road. Anyone
Because
care?
we've already talked about it, I'm happy to move it.
We've already approved it. We're
Yeah.
just ratifying it because it was added to the
Yeah.
agenda.
I move to ratify the board's 3/17/2025 decision to approve access permit application number 2025-01 submitted by the corner store for a modification of an existing access to their parcel located on the north side of Middletown Road, and authorize the chair to sign the permit on behalf of the board.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Did I sign that permit last meeting? It's not
You know
in
what?
here.
I don't know.
Yeah,
That's
it's
a
not
good
in here.
question.
Well, if I didn't,
Okay.
let me know tomorrow and
Okay.
I'll swing by.
I think it was missing because we thought it was in Will's box and.
Oh, yeah.
we-
Yep, you are right.
I don't know if it ever surfaced. I haven't seen it either, so.
Okay.
So
I'll
we'll have to
Yeah, I
try to
don't
find
know
that, and once we do, just let me know, I'll swing
Okay.
by and sign it. Item 10 is old business, we have nothing under item 10. Item 11, new business. 11A, interim vendor permit application, Smoking Bowls LLC. This looks like it's for the
It's,
Green Mountain Therapeutics.
yeah, it's for one day. And is Sarah here? She was maybe gonna make it. The one thing that I had asked for that she was gonna get to me was a certificate of insurance. And she was trying to get her insurance company to send that to her this morning, and it did not arrive to me by now.
When is this for?
Could we?
When is it? It's for
approve it?
April 19th.
Could we approve it with a condition?
Contingency,
Yes,
yeah.
yeah, I would do that.
That would be the best way then, yeah? Anyone cares to make that motion?
I move to approve the itinerant vendor permit number 2025,
Oh, 01.
dash
Yeah.
01
First one
for
of this
Smoke
year.
and Bowls LLC, with the condition of providing an insurance certificate.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. 10B is second-class liquor license, Mike and Tammy's Main Street Deli Market.
I move to approve a second-class liquor license for Mike and Tammy's Main Street Deli/Market related to property located at 2170 Route 11.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And 11C, first and third-class liquor licenses, Manzana Incorporated, Solo Farm and Table.
I move to approve a first and third class liquor license for Solo Farm and Table related to property located at 95 Middletown Road.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And 11D, septic fields project, consider annual PFA's groundwater sampling plan. This is something we are required to do, and they basically give us the price, and we don't much have a choice.
I'm happy to move it. I move to, 1, accept the estimate of cost for 2025 groundwater monitoring estimate of PFAS at the former septic fields from Heindel Environmental Management to cost approximately $6,980. And number 2, authorize the town administrator to execute necessary documents to employ the consultant firm for this service on behalf of the town.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Who wants the last one?
Sometimes you have any more business, and so, sorry I wasn't ready before, but, the Friends of the West River Trail, we have a movie series seasonally at the depot, and, coming up, April 24th is the Opera Queen, and on May 22nd is the Maltese Falcon. It's a Humphrey Bogart theme. And if anybody has any other ideas for themes or movies they like, let us know.
That's good, thank you.
Thank you.
I move to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.